Alright, this time guys I'm going to go over my control wizard. Uh, this one's going to have a little bit different. I'm going to go over two different loadouts that I currently use. First things first, I end up going over the my AoE loadout. Now this is basically all best in slot, in my opinion. So this is what you want to strive for in-game wise. I'll try to substitute some other gear in there if you don't have it, which you could use as substitute and whatnot. Alright, so first I'm going to go over the boons. For my AoE, I'm still sticking with Storm Spell. Spellstorm Mage for my AoE. I know that some people are using Master of Flame for AoE and single target. I still like the Spellstorm because of the burstness of it. So that's just what I stick with. It's more of a preference thing. So let's go over to boons. Again, if I'm going too fast, whatever, you want to basically copy paste, pause the video so you can see what the boons are. Guild boons pretty much a gimme. Power, hit point. The only time I don't run hit point is if there's not a paladin in the group. So if a guardian fighter was a tank, then I would be running the lifesteal bonus. If I'm in a dungeon, I try to run a revive sickness. That's pretty much it for that. Now, I got some PvP boons, but I'm not going over those because that's not what this build's about. Here's my Sharandar picks. My Dread Rain picks. For the last one, you could go with Rampage and Madness, or you could go with Endless Consumption if you got a lot of lifesteal. I used to use Endless Consumption as a young C-dub. It's still really good. But I just went to Rampage and Madness. I know that some people, going back to the Dread Rain, some people like to take this to do a little extra damage. I look at it like 20,000 damage isn't anything. I'd rather take the heal for a little increased survivability. That's really healer's choice with that. Here's my Icewind Dale picks. Underdark. Tyranny of Dragons. Maze Engine. Now in the end here, if for some reason you're not crit capped, even with potions, then Baphomet's Might may be the pick for you. I didn't no longer need that, so I took Baleful Clutch for a little more control strength, which in turn turns into a little more damage. Elemental Evil. King's Thunder. Cloak Ascendancy. And Cholt. Now some people may not like regen for their second set of Cholt boons. The reason I took regen is because of more hit points, which does more damage with the Aura of Courage. Also, if you lifesteal or you get healed, regen does affect that a little bit. So that's the reason I took regen. Not only that, there's really nothing else I see viable for my CW. So that's the reasoning behind that. For feats, again, this is the AoE. This is for clearing trash mobs. These are the feats here. I'm human, so I get 3 extra heroic points, which to me, in my opinion, is the best in slot race for CWs. Just because we have good heroic feats, and those extra 3 points are really nice. Now, another reason why I like this, sticking with Spellstorm when I'm doing AoE, is I still run spell twisting. So I like it because of that. Other people, they may not run that for their AoE, but I do, just to make it a little quicker. My companions, don't mind me, I don't have all of my stuff properly equipped. Obviously, Tiger summoned. I have a lot of different companion varieties depending on what's going on. Traditionally, this is what I will run. Fire, Earth, Air, Siege, Tiger summoned. Now, if I'm running with some of the guys and all of us have a Raptor, I will drop Siege and I will run the Tame Velociraptor. So that way it's a 5%. Now when I get the boss fights, I don't always do this, sometimes I do. I'll drop my Siege if I remember, and I'll put the Batari around for boss fights. If I'm running with the Guardian Fighter, it's the tank. Or let's say I'm running with the Buff Tac Guardian Fighter, and I got an OP as well, I will drop my Siege and drop my Fire Archon and run the War Boar and run the Batari Runt. That's just me though. It's entirely up to you. If you just went with this setup here, you'd be fine. I know that some people like running a Compy, because right now a Compy gives you the 5% or whatever for Cholt and Inton and whatnot. I didn't mess with the Compy because it's only going to be good for this mod. Next mod, we're going to be in Ravenloft, and Compy's only going to be a 3%. So I'm not even going to use it. And even if I did have it, and I started running, got back to running Taunt and stuff next mod, I'd rather run a Raptor with my group of guys that's already got it, and then when I get to a boss, I can just run a Batari Runt. So, not to mention, next mod we're going to get the Groot. So he's going to have to get thrown in here for an active because of the extra combat advantage damage we're going to get with that. Too many good pets. But these are the ones that I run with. Right now, I just kind of went through another min-max phase. I got basically all rank 14s. So I'm running 4 Black Ice rank 14s and 2 14 Gigantics. With this setup. And then, like I said, I don't have all my enchantments in right now. For defensive slots, I was using Radiance for more damage, but I went with the Draconics for a little better survivability and a small reduction in hit points and damage. But it's entirely up to you what you want to run for your defensive slot, but I run Draconics. Offense, all my offensives are Black Ice 14s. Weapon enchantment, unparalleled Fey Touch. The only other thing to really consider, other than Fey Touch, would be a Dread. But Fey Touch is better overall. My armor enchantment, which is on my boss loadout currently, I run a Bark Shield. I know some CWs run Soul Forge. Negation's not worth it, because if you can't survive the hits, Negation's just isn't going to save you. So Bark Shield or Soul Forge is probably going to be your 2 best choices. Now, since I got my stats pretty much squared away from AoE, I was able to throw in the Rex chest for the extra 1500 power for clearing trash. Jaw Ripper gloves, that's a gimme. That's in the slot for AoE right now. And I'm running the Enduring boots. And then, of course, Primal helmet. I noticed some people run the Pilgrim helm for the recovery. I don't like it, so I just stuck with my Primal. Obviously, Primal weapons going to be best in slot. Now, the new C-Dub, you're going to want to run Chilling Presence for your offhand, because if you're flipping back and forth with Master Flame and Spellstorm, that's going to be your overall better. I took Action Point Gain because that's really the only hand left that I wouldn't go into diminishing returns with. I'm a little bit low on combat advantage bonus, but not bad. These are my artifacts that I use for AoE. Decanter, it's obviously best in slot. If you don't have a decanter, you could easily get away with using a DC Sigil for trash clearing. Really good. You could also, you could even use the wheel if you really wanted to. Of course, it's just not going to have as much damage as the other ones will. I think you'd be better off with the DC Sigil, in my opinion. But it's really up to you. Some people may even want to run a lantern for trash clearing. That's fine too. Some CWs run the Heart of the Black Dragon for trash clear to keep up Artificer's Persuasion. So I mean, it's you got a couple options there. What you want to do with, and then of course the artifacts, as you can see here, I'm running the Key, running the Eye of the Giant, and GWF Sigil. I try to put as many artifacts as I can to give me hit points in addition to stats. That's why the GWF Sigil's in there, because the more hit points you have on the CW, the more damage you're going to do with Aura of Courage. So trying to target those specific artifacts is a gimme. For my neck and waist, it's Beaded Sash, Beaded Amulet. That's pretty much a gimme. Best in slot reigns right now, Shadowstalker 4, Shadowstalker 5. I do have a Ring of Undead Slaying plus 5. I'm just not using it until next mod. So that's why I'm running these right now. Next mod, Shadowstalker 4 is going to get replaced with Undead Slayer 5. Primal Paints, the tops and the bottoms, that's a gimme. For ability scores, that's what I went with. I don't remember what my initial rolls were, but you should pretty much be about right here when you're done. Mounts. For combat powers, I have several legendary mounts. So for combat, your T-Rex is good. And then of course the Lion, that's a gimme too. I like the Lion overall better, me personally, but it's really up to you. Next mod, combat power best in slot, is going to be the Bat Swarm. So that's what I'm going to try to get one of those. For equip power, overall best in slot, it's going to be the legendary Flail Snail, 25% AP gain. That's what you're going to want. If you can't get the legendary one, get the epic one, the 15%. Right there. If for some reason you can't get that, then try to get something to complement your stats, like 2K crit or you know, if you need armor pen or something of that nature, try to get something to complement your stats that you need for that. Even recovery would be fine too. Now that CWs are putting recovery in their builds. That's pretty much that. For powers, I'm pretty much, you know, doing the traditional standard stuff for AoE, Conduit of Ice, Icy Terrain, Thunderstorm, Steel Time. For my AoE, that's pretty much it. Dailies I'm using is Oppressive Force, Ice Dagger. I rarely use Ice Dagger anymore. I do use it in boss fights every now and then, but most of the time I just use Oppressive Force. So, like in my potion tray, I got Pocket Pet and Mythic Scales. Ideally, I pop the pocket pet first. If I don't get the go for the vitals, which is the crit sev, then you hit your scales to see if you can get it in your buff bar for the crit sev. For potions, since I'm already crit capped and everything, I use Wildstorm Elixir just because of the crit sev. I don't need the crit strike, but I still need the crit sev. And then I'll use power potions. The 2500 alchemy ones, I'll use those. And then for guild food, I'll use the power guild food, which is the prime rib as well. And then squash soup for the crit sev there as well. So you're looking at 15% crit sev between those two. It's really, really good. Now let me swap loadouts real quick, and we'll go over the single target. Alright, so all my boom picks should be the same. Well, except for that one's different. I took recovery for that one. I think that might have been the only one that was different. Looks like it. Here's my feats for the single target loadout. Notice nothing in Wizard's Wrath, so you can focus on the single target stuff a lot more. Now I run Oppressor Thaumaturge. There's still CWs running around that aren't running. I don't know why they're not running this setup for single target. One of the key things when you're going to an Oppressor tree, 5 out of 5 in control momentum. Now the tooltip states that it's 5% more damage for 6 seconds. The tooltip is incorrect. It's actually a 10% damage buff for the whole team. That's good. That's a win-win right there. Some C-dubs, for whatever reason, aren't running it. Now, you'll see control momentum if you're in the party, but you're not the C-dub, you'll see it flash across your screen. So that's one way to know if a CW is using it or not. Not running spell twisting, that's obvious. Still running elemental and a reinforcement for the extra damage. The only real big difference with the whole Master Flame and running Spellstorm is going to come down to your powers. Now my powers, I'm still using Conduit Ice on tab. Still using Icy Terrain, Disintegrate, and Fan into Flames. Some people may have a difference in what they want to run for their powers. I find those work the best for me. So the class feat, the only real big difference is boss fight, you're running Swath of Destruction. So you're bringing that debuff to the table. And I believe it's I think it's a 24-25% debuff. So you're basically bringing a 10% buff with control momentum, which you basically can maintain 100% uptime easily. And then further, you're also bringing that debuff of Swath for the boss fight. Now, if there's two CWs in a group and another CW is running Master of Flame too, and if you know they're running Swath, what you can do is you can just run Critical Conflag to bring up your crit sev a lot. So there's that option. If you were to do Master of Flame AoE instead of Spellstorm, then your class feat you could run with could either be Critical Conflag or you could even run Combustive Action, so you can get that extra AP gain and AoE stance if you run Master of Flame AoE. So that's viable as well. It's up to you. I know with the AoE, I know some CWs are running Fan into Flame on tab, on spell mastery for their AOE. So that's something you as an individual have to play around with and see if that works out for you that way or not. Like I said, I run Spellstorm. I'm just putting this information out in case you want to consider something else. I didn't go over my insignia bonuses last time, but they're the same. Mounts, still the same. This is my stable. I try to squeeze in dominance and a couple other little things here and there. Like I said, I just got through min-maxing again. So I have a couple oddball things in here, like this skill here. But if you can, dominance is obviously the more you want to go with. So, Combative Maneuver, very good. Shepherd's Devotion, everybody should be running Shepherds. I know that there's still some DPS that aren't running Shepherds. In my opinion, if you aren't running Shepherds, you're wrong. But that's just my opinion. If you still need refinement or you're not running dungeons, obviously Wanderer's Fortune. You know that. But that's basically my setup right there with what I got going on. Pretty sure I don't run anything different on the other side. Companions are still the same for the most part. Like I said, boss fight, depending on what's going on, I may drop, switch, whatever that I need to what I need to get the job done. The gear's a little bit different. So for the boss fight, I'm now running the Rex Corona, so I can get that extra power, because the stats from the Vivified Primal Helmet, they're not doing anything for me, so I can stack more power now. I know that some people are running the Mastercraft 3 chess pieces. I just don't feel like putting the AD out for it. I know some of them are running the recovery chest, so they're stacking crit a little more in other ways, which, like I said, I probably could do that, but I'm not spending the 80 on that stuff. I stock wraps, that's best in slot right now for single target. And then still running Enduring Boots. Artifacts are the same except for my up artifact. Soul Sight, that's a gimme. That's a best in slot. And then everything else is the same. Let me just double check real quick on my AoE to make sure my mount bonuses are the same. Okay, I run Artificer's Persuasion instead of Combative's Maneuver. That's the only difference. That's pretty much it. Hopefully this helps you guys out. If there's any questions, feel free to ask, and have a good day.